Project number 8 looks at controlling another single element, in this case a servo, a device that rotates between 0 and 180 degrees. This control will let you move something out on the circuit side of the element using controls from the Arduino. If we look at the schematic, it's going to be another fairly simple hookup, just like the temperature sensor was. We connect the white to our control signal. In this case, the control signal is going to be coming from port 9. We connect the red to 5 volts power, and we connect the black to ground. So once again, a rather simple hookup where we simply give the device power and a control signal, and it will run. However, if we go over to the sketch, then things are going to be just a little bit different from the temperature sensor. Now here with the sketch, the temperature sensor was rather simple. It output a voltage depending on how warm the temperature, or depending on how warm the sensor actually was. That implied a rather simple input and output, which could then be used with some minor correction factors written into the program itself. Controlling a servo is much more complicated on the other hand. It requires some rather specific electrical commands to actually make it move the way you want it to. So writing your own servo control program would be very, very complicated and take a lot of work. But somebody has already written servo controls for you. And all you have to do to get your servo to work is use this line here, which is #include or #include the library servo.h. So this says, go find the servo library and take all the functions and everything included in that and make them available to this sketch. The servo library is not one of the default libraries that is automatically included for every Arduino sketch, so you have to manually include the servo library. Now, just like there's a servo library, if you get some other complicated device that needs specific controls, you might be able to go to the Arduino website and find a library there that boils down controlling that device to some simple commands you can put in the sketch, and all you have to do is download that library, put it in the right folder spot so that your Arduino can find it, and then just at the start of that program, before you even do your setup, include that library. So in this case, the servo library. And the next line says that I want to make a servo object, and it's servo1. And that's part of the servo library. Next, in your setup, you're saying, I want servo1 to take its control from pin number 9. So we're attaching servo1's control to pin number 9. Once again, that's all part of the servo library. So for the actual main body of the program, you first define a variable position, and they're going to first just spin the servo a few times just to show you that you can directly control the position of the servo, and this will be moving at the maximum speed the servo is capable of moving. So first, servo.write. So send a signal to the servo to move it to a specific position. So servo.write 90, move the servo to 90 degrees, wait a second, servo.write 180, tell it to move out to 180, which is its full extension, wait, servo.write 0, move it back to its baseline position, and then wait. And next they're going to use a for loop to have the servo move at a slower speed. So for position, this position that they've defined way up here in position, starts at 0, goes up to 180, and increases by 2 each time that the loop goes through. Set my servo position to the current loop index, so that'll be something like 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, so on and so on. And then wait for 20 milliseconds before I run the next position of the loop. So it should start at 0, and then move to 2 degrees, wait 20 milliseconds, move to 4 degrees, so it should appear to clearly or smoothly move from 0 to 180 at a slower speed than its top speed when you just tell it move to 180 from wherever you are. And next, they're going to have it move back to its default position. So starting at position equals 180, so position equals 180, and goes back down to 0, and stepping down by 1 each time. So since they've got the same 20 millisecond delay, when it moves back down to 0 from 180, the way back should move even slower than the way up, which was stepping up by 2 each time. So these are all just a whole bunch of simple commands to actually get the servo to rotate. And so let's switch over to the camera view where we've got our servo right here. And let's upload the sketch and see what happens. So as you can see, it's got its default position, 90, 180, back to default, out to 180, back to 0, 90, 180, back, out, and then back even slower. So you've essentially got this whole list of servo controls, and they've all been written for you. So when you get some new device, some new sensor, some new control object that you want to be able to control with your Arduino, it's entirely possible that a lot of the hard work, the getting together the specific signals you need to feed to the device, have already been written by someone else. So all you need to do is find an associated library, include the library, and then figure out from the library which commands you need to essentially simplify sending your command to your device, so you can control whatever you need to control, and you don't need to understand exactly what signals you need to be able to send a servo in order to get it to rotate.